Hello, all of you out there on the internet. Glad to be here with you for a little time of very micro movement and meditation. I'm aLex. This is about a 30-minute adventure together. First part will be a little bit on a theme to keep us on track, and then a little bit of movement, of focusing our attention to many parts of us. In fact, let's see, another quote. And then meditation, stillness, silence, spaciousness, coming home. So I use a three-part cue. I use a lot of three-part cues, but this one for getting us present, I find so helpful. And the three parts are ground, sound, and breath. They don't have to be in that order. I usually start with ground, but let's start with breath today. Just as a little, for me, it'll be a little pushing out of my comfort zone, very mildly so, but so breath. And you can just see what happens for you as you tune into, hello, breath. What's happening with my breath today, with you today? Where are you? Where am I holding on to you? Breath. And just allowing it. Perhaps you're noticing, I was holding my breath, or there are some parts in the body that are resisting the breath, or the breath's not completely free. It's very blustery. I've got the windows open on either side, and it feels like it's an echo of the breath. And then I'm really needing to go to the ground one. Maybe you'll go to sound, but ground. While I'm aware of my breath. Ground helps me anchor my physical body, but also my mind, my attention right here. Ground, the cue to the earth, but the earth is in this gravitational field, in this movement that we don't feel, the spinning of the earth. But part of that spinning helps us stay right where we are. There's a verticality to it. Right here, this spot on the earth. The one place, my place, a space of one's own, a room of one's own, right here. And then sound. As you hear the word that I've said, this cue, maybe you're waiting for me to elaborate, but maybe if you've been with this method before, you know a direction. But what's fresh today? And if you've never heard it, if it's just sound, what does she mean by that? Maybe sound, you just opened. It's so direct. It's maybe a quick connection was made to sound, to the ears, to the mechanics within the ears that that are translating vibration out there, vibration in here, to the pathways of mind. And so perhaps this breath, ground sound, perhaps it gives you this feel of right here, right now, of presence. It's timeless. The moment it has a word, the moment I talk about it, it's not what it is. And this is why it's so vital to take this time to practice, because for the most part, we're drawn to the constructs of our mind, the immediate labeling, the immediate knowing, and that's all very, very, very precious and important. But it's not the only, and it's not the source. So for movement today, let's take something very subtle. Let's just take the breath. Come back to the breath. And so your position, before I go into this movement, or this movement of our attention on our breath, make sure that you are supported. The part of the ground is that you have the support that you need. The comfortable space, comfortable under you, comfortable perhaps behind you, around you, the temperature, something to cover up with if it's too cold. Yes, it's been very hot here in Virginia, and all of a sudden we've got much cooler weather. Whatever you need, cushions, maybe you'll even lie down. You can shift your position for the different parts of this practice as you need. So, finding a relative, coming back to that breath, ground sound, presence. Come back in particular to the feel of your breath. And just even as I'm moving, keep noticing what you notice in your body. Notice the whole central channel of yourself, from the nostrils, head, throat, lungs, heart, belly, deep belly, pelvis, pelvic floor. How that whole inner column can sense the movements of breath. Indeed, are part of the movements of breath. And you could stay with that and just watch the shapes that come and go without interfering with them, if possible, to the extent possible, just allowing. And there's some conditioning we have, even from our training, that the inhale is an expansion and the exhale is a contraction. But what if on the exhale, you stayed spacious and relaxed, tall, soft? And so on the inhale, notice any of the spaces. Maybe it's in the lungs, maybe it's part of the belly, side body, in the back. Notice how that breath, your breath is received, that particular breath, in-breath. And notice that probably on the out breath, there's a feeling of those walls of the inside coming inward. But what if you tried, and we often do this as part of the Ujjayi training, what if as you breathed in and you feel the ribs expand, however much they do, and then leave that expansion, leave that bony cage of ribs open as much as you can, and let the exhale come. There may be some contraction in another part, but the rib cage stays large. Inhale again, and you may feel the ribs open a little bit more, even at the sides or any parts circumferentially. And then keep them open and let the breath leave. Perhaps even letting the belly stay expanded. Something may be really different. So something inside around the diaphragm muscle would have to move differently to allow that. One more time or two more times. The in-breath, torso, and perhaps on the out-breath, can you stay soft and expansive? Somehow the breath is ushered out from deep within. Right, let it go. Let it go. Just let go of tending to the breath in that particular way. Zoom out, if you will. And just notice and observe the way that presence now feels. There might be sensations of the body that are obvious. There might be an energetic tone that's sensed, or a mood, an emotion. And there are likely blends of these that are unique, some familiar, some very repetitive, very familiar, but also very likely never experienced just like this before. We're going to slide right toward our meditation, and so you could either attend to what needs to change in your physical posture, or you can just stay where you are. I've been reading this book, maybe you can see it. I mentioned Colum McCann, Apeirogon, last week. Beautiful writing. And it reminds me, his writing reminds me of our meditation path, of how there's a zooming in of whatever is particular. Just now we zoomed in to notice the breath, to play with the breath, engage with it, dance with it in a certain way. And then he'll zoom out and zoom back in to, it's almost like the murmurations of starlings. They just zoom out, the space thing, the aperture expands, and then it goes back in to something different and seemingly possibly totally unrelated, and yet part of the whole constellation of relationships. And I won't say more about the book, but I'm just going to read this very short sentence. In his book, Pensées, a collection of fragments of theology and philosophy, the 17th-century French philosopher Pascal suggested that all of humanity's problems stem from our inability to sit alone in one room. Pascal suggested that all of humanity's problems stem from our inability to sit alone in one room. I'm not sure how that lands with you, but I'm in great agreement with Pascal. Mind may come in and say, well, there are things that need to be done. There's action that needs to be taken. This is true. But in my feel and sense and experience and just that calling to come home, to sit alone in my room. The challenge of that and what is revealed. Let's just play with it. I won't say at the end of the meditation, I'll suggest what is revealed for me. But you can find out as we go on this journey what is revealed for you. As we sit alone in our room, and yet also together. Let's start about 10 minutes. Your posture feels just right. And you can feel the just here-ness, the just here-ness of it. Perhaps you just, as you observe that element, that cue of ground, maybe there's just a slight relaxing or almost oozing a little more to the back, to the side, to the front, from somewhere inside. That allows the shape to support you a little bit more. So relaxing through the horizontal axis of the pelvis and hips. Like the axis of our back wheels if we were four-legged. Relaxing horizontally at the diaphragm muscle, and separating belly and long heart area. Sensing the horizontal, almost where a diaphragm of the throat might be, the deep base of the throat, just the ceiling or sky of the heart. And that kind of continues through the axis of the shoulders. Relax relaxing as if through sensing that horizontal dowel that could be right through ear to ear, through the center of the head. Sensing the choice of eyes. Are they relaxed? Are they open a tiny bit? Just gazing unfocusedly downward. Or closed. And then a horizontal field just above the crown of the head, paralleling all these horizontal panels we've just visited, including the pelvic floor, and then just below that, the real floor, the building floor below us. Just right here. Paring away everything just to feel what this home feels like, what it is, just to be as it. And the paradox, or I almost feel hesitant to have used that word, paring away. There's no problem. It's even everything that is a more particular, more concretized, a specific thing that comes and goes, whether it's the coolness on my right elbow, the thought about my coughing, it's all just a coming and going from this essence. It's all so special in that regard. Coming into the home, the essence, the presence. Sense as if seeing, being from that vantage point. Which is right here, right now, but has no time or space. breaths, savoring each moment. A bow at the end of practice. Just in that bow, you can sense what is in it for you, what expression was coming or being received. A reverence, a gratitude, a humility, a shift from stillness to movement. So I'm going to read again what I read earlier. The French philosopher Pascal suggested that all of humanity's problems stem from our inability to sit alone in one room. And so I'll segue that into, and you can feel for yourself, you can feel what the benefits of that are. And so often, perhaps it feels not enough. It feels like, well, what's coming from there? Or how do I know what to do? Or how does it make clarity? And I think those are valid, very valid and cerebral questions, but we can know better just by doing it. And yeah, I think you know that. From Adya Shanti in a recent email wrote, from this stillness arises the greatest activity, where body, mind, and spirit express themselves not as fractured parts, but as an embodied whole. The knowing will come. Thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful week. Come visit Sun and Moon Studio in various formats, various dimensions. Often it's a good place to be. And thank you for sitting together with me as I sit alone in my room. Peace.